This is my review on motorized bicycles. First of all, I recommend getting a reinforced frame. This is not a reinforced frame itself, but they can run up to like $300–400 just for a reinforced frame. But this one seems to be working out fine for me at the moment. Whenever you're buying a bike, you want to make sure you have a good enough space in between your motor and your frame that you have some space to work with, and so your carburetor does not hit the top. The next thing, you want to make sure you Loctite absolutely everything on your bike, because vibrations will end up loosening all your nuts and bolts and you'll end up having a failure somewhere. You do not want that happening. The chain guide, or the chain tension, or whatever you want to call it, this thing. You want to make sure you get brand new nuts and bolts for that. And you only want about an inch of play in the chain after it's tightened. The motor and carburetor. I have not had any problems with this motor and carburetor. This is not stock, but it works out pretty well for me. This one actually gives you better airflow whenever you're riding. So that's what I've been using. Brakes. I do not recommend coaster brakes at all. Coaster brakes will end up, this used to be flat on two sides. After a while it'll round out, and then you'll end up losing your coaster brakes whenever you do not know. So I do not recommend coaster brakes at all. I ran this for about 3 months and then figured that out myself, which could have landed me in a very bad situation. So use hand brakes. Electrical tape. I have been using electrical tape underneath my underneath everything. I put electrical tape underneath where I mounted the motor. I put electrical tape underneath here. I also put a little strip of tube from one of these tires. I just cut off a tire tube and then put one on, just to give it a little bit more grip, a little bit more thickness as well. Plus, the electrical tape and the tire that you end up putting on will reduce vibrations a lot. I recommend that, because then there's a lot less chance of having your nuts and bolts come off and then coming into a life-threatening situation. Another thing is, in here is your magneto coil. You never want to get this wet. A front fender will help that out a lot, but also there's a gasket in here that'll help, but I've had it to where water's gotten in here and you'll end up destroying your magneto coil. What I did to fix that is I just took some hot glue and went all the way around, top and bottom, to make sure there's absolutely nothing getting into here. The hot glue has stuck. Even with this motor getting hot, this is not even starting to melt. I think that's about it. Tools. This tool is nice. This comes apart, and you could use, this is a normal bike tool you can buy at Walmart. I recommend buying one of these because this comes in handy for everything. It's one of those things that you can just have in your pocket and it won't bother you much. Everything folds right in, and it has a 10mm wrench on it, pretty much, which is pretty much all your nuts and bolts that come with the motor itself. So you would, if anything comes loose, like one of these bolts, you can tighten it down real quick. Any of the mounting brackets, you can tighten those down real quick if something happens. I also recommend getting a good chain breaker. Don't buy those crappy chain breakers at Walmart. You want something good. This is pretty much a motorcycle chain breaker, because if you get one at Walmart, you will not be able to break these. And to get it lined up and tightened. Next thing, You can have one of these chain tensioners, or you can have one of these kind. These kind I have an experience with. They work pretty well, but even though they tension it, they can loosen up real quickly and then get caught up into here, into your sprocket. And you do not want that at all. It'll lock up the whole system. Your tire will lock up. And then you have a chance of blowing out your tires. Spark plugs. I've had a good system going for a while, so I've not went through that many spark plugs. It really depends on what kind of motor you get. This is 66 cc, but I recommend getting a heavy duty spark plug. And then I'm just making sure I just don't foul them out. I have a good mix ratio, so I'm not having any problem there. And I'm out of memory, so I'm gonna have to stop this video. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Bye.